When 23-year-old Janet Brewer, an ex-Sunday school teacher, fell in love with her local vicar, who was married, no one in the parish knew of the affair. And as their love affair progressed, the vicar found himself spending his wife's money in order to keep his mistress. But their relationship came to an end, and soon afterwards it took a sinister turn. The vicar received a letter from Miss Brewer threatening to expose him. But the vicar's wife intercepted the letter and took it to the police. Soon afterwards, a second letter was written, and as a result, Janet Brewer and her brother Matthew Brewer stand accused of demanding money with menaces.
In view of this, I now ask that the witness should be referred to throughout as the Reverend A.
Of which church is your witness a minister?
Church of England, my lord.
Yes, I see. I don't like secrecy in my court. However, in a blackmail case, I see no alternative.
I wish to make the same application in respect of his wife and call her Mrs. A, my lord.
Very well.
Thank you, my lord. We come now to the matter of the two letters written by the defendants to the Reverend A. These are the letters in which the menaces were made. I will formally produce these letters later, but I'd like the jury to see them now. They should be marked Exhibits 1 and 2.
Mr. Dealey?
I have no objections, my lord.
May I ask how these letters came to be in the possession of the police?
They were opened by the Reverend A's wife, my lord, and she passed them to the police.
They were addressed to the Reverend A?
Yes, my lord.
I see. Have the
The
jury
first
all
letter-
got copies?
Yes, my lord. The first letter, dated the 11th of June of this year, was written to the Reverend A by the defendant, Miss Janet Brewer. The text is as follows. Dear Frank, dear, you are still dear to me despite everything. I don't know how it is possible to go on loving someone like you, and yet I do. I just hope I don't have to go on loving... Well, I don't think I need read the next few lines, my lord.
I think we should hear it all.
Very well. I just hope I don't have to go on loving you for the rest of my life. Anyway, I have to get on with my life alone. Get back to it, perhaps I should say, because I gave up everything which was my life for you and your promises. Left a job I liked, home and parents I loved, and took a lease on what was to have been our flat. So many things finished and spoiled. Why? Why, Frank? For no better reason than your wife's money? Is money so important to you? All right. Money is no compensation for what you've done to me, but you've got to pay for your fun. You owe it to me. Because of you, I have over £400 worth of debts, and you must pay.
400?
Oh, yes, my lord, the £4,000 of the sum isn't mentioned until the second letter.
I see.
The letter continues, you'd better pay it, or it won't be only your wife who finds out. Here's those little secrets of yours, and what a weak hypocrite you are. The whole world will hear. Any trouble getting the money out of your wife, and I'm sure the newspapers would pay a lot for those photos you took. Coming to be your mistress cost me this much, and you must pay. Pay me now. Yours sincerely, Janet. The second letter is dated 5 days later, June the 16th, and was written by the other defendant, Miss Brewer's brother, Matthew Brewer. It reads, my sister has told me all that has taken place between you, and that you've not seen fit to answer her letter. I shall not abuse you here. You'll know my opinion of you. Yours cannot be much higher of yourself. To bring your part in this disgraceful affair to an end, you have involved my sister in much expense. In my opinion, the sum of £4,000 is required to compensate her for everything she has spent, for which she is liable, and not to mention all her suffering and pain. You must pay this, or we shall have to take other measures against you, which I'm sure I needn't elaborate. And then your life and reputation would also be ruined. Tomorrow evening at 6, I shall come to your house, when you had better have this money for me. Yours truly, Matthew J.B. Brewer. Mrs. A., I know that all of this is distasteful to you, and I'm sure everyone will try to spare you as much pain as possible.
Thank you.
Do you know the two accused?
Yes. I've known Mr. Brewer as a parishioner for some years. I've known Miss Brewer only since she began to take the Sunday school 18 months ago.
The Sunday school attached to your husband's church?
Yes.
As far as you know, what was the relationship between your husband and Miss Brewer?
Just a normal working relationship, I thought, until I opened that letter.
Was this letter the first indication you had that your husband and Miss Brewer were more than just colleagues?
Oh, no, I knew there was someone, but not her. She looks as though butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, doesn't she?
Mrs. A, when you saw that first letter, what did you do?
I confronted my husband with it. At first he denied it, but then he admitted that he'd been having what he called a little romance, but that it was already over and done with.
Does your husband have any private means?
He has nothing but his stipend. Any large sum would have to come from me.
And you are a comparatively wealthy woman.
Comparatively, yes.
Do you make him an allowance?
We have a joint account.
Is your husband free to spend the money in this joint account on anything?
Yes.
Girlfriend? Flat for a girlfriend?
I could always close the account.
Mr. Lotterby, where do these questions lead us? You say you are calling the Reverend A himself. These matters, if you feel the necessity, could surely be put to him.
My lord, the Reverend A is apparently a reluctant witness. It's been necessary for the police to serve him with a witness summons.
I see.
Moreover, Mrs. A is able to establish a number of important points.
Very well.
Thank you, my lord. Now, what followed your husband's admission that he'd been having an affair with Miss Brewer?
I took the letter to the police.
What prompted you to do that?
Well, it was crude blackmail, wasn't it? Threats to expose him, hints about secrets, photographs and newspapers. I showed it to the inspector at our local police station.
Oh, what was his name?
Inspector Savage. He said that he thought that it constituted
Quite so, Mr. Dealey. Mrs. A, you must not say what the inspector said.
Did the inspector come and see you and your husband?
Yes, but my husband refused to do anything about it. He refused to lay a complaint, I believe the phrase is, and so the police were unable to bring a charge.
Yes.
Until the second letter came, yes. From him.
From Matthew Brewer?
Yes.
What did you do?
I showed that letter to the inspector as well.
Did Inspector Savage and you agree upon a plan of action?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, knowing from his letter that Mr. Brewer was due to arrive at 6 that evening, the inspector and I placed ourselves outside the study door in order to be witnesses to what was said.
And what took place?
A first-class slanging match. Mr. Brewer called my husband all kinds of names. And then he shouted, "By God, you'd better pay up or we'll drag your name through the Sunday newspapers." He called him an adulterer and a dirty hypocrite.
Brewer shouted, "By God, you'd better pay up or we'll drag your name through the Sunday newspapers."
Yes.
And then?
Well, nothing.
Your husband made no reply?
Well, he didn't get the chance to. That was when I opened the door and rushed in. I wasn't going to have Brewer calling my husband names.
You rushed in to intervene. Did the inspector suggest this?
No, I just got angry.
Thank you, Mrs. A. Oh, would you remain there, please?
I think that my husband is sometimes a foolish man and sometimes weak, but these are not criminal offences.
A weak and foolish minister of the church.
There have been weak and foolish saints. My husband is a good minister and a good Christian.
And a good husband?
Yes.
You really say he's a good husband?
Yes.
In a minister of religion, then, and in a husband, you condone adultery?
No, of course not.
And in spite of everything he's done, you still think he's a good husband, a good minister, and a good Christian?
Yes, I do.
And what do you think of Miss Brewer?
Janet Brewer is a little tart.
Will you please tell the jury how you first knew that your husband was having an affair?
When I opened the letter, I said.
No, before that. You said in your evidence in chief that I knew there was someone, but not her.
Oh, then.
Yes, then.
You have to remember that the vicar of any church, and particularly a handsome man like my husband, is often an attractive and romantic figure to young, impressionable girls. Silly girls, many of them.
Mrs. A, just answer my question, please.
From time to time, one of them gets a crush on him, thinks she's in love even.
And your husband?
Is sometimes tempted.
And sometimes falls.
Well,
is it a fact that your husband has had other affairs before this one with Miss Brewer?
Please
answer.
I think sometimes.
Often?
No.
And what did you do when you first guessed of this one?
Waited for it to die a natural death.
Like the others?
Yes.
And when this one did not die, what did you do? Did you bring any pressure to bear on your husband?
No.
Financial pressures?
No.
No?
Obliquely, I may have intimated that...
That what?
That my money was not for the purpose of entertaining silly girls.
So you gave your husband to understand that unless he ended the affair, you would see to it that he was kept short of money?
No.
Well, that was the substance of what you intimated, however obliquely, wasn't it?
I suppose it was.
And you don't think that Janet Brewer is a silly girl, do you? You believe that she's a little tart. You've also testified that your husband at first refused to lay a complaint against Miss Brewer.
Yes.
When did he appear to change his mind?
He changed his mind when he saw the second letter. It was an obvious blackmail attempt.
The jury will decide that, madam. So your husband accompanied you on your second visit to the police with Mr. Brewer's letter, did he?
No.
But you have just said he changed his mind after he saw that second letter.
He hadn't seen it at that point.
He hadn't seen it at that point. Let's recapitulate a little then. Your husband was having a love affair, which you broke up by threatening to cut him off from your money. Then you took a letter addressed to him and without his consent showed it to the police. Then you agreed to hide and spy on a private...
Not to spy.
Well, we may disagree upon words, but you don't deny the facts, do you?
No.
In fact, you were practicing a series of deceptions upon your husband. Madam, do you love your husband?
Yes.
And you do almost anything to keep him?
No, it's not like that. But it's not!
Be quiet. Mr. Dealey, you must warn your client that she must not interrupt these proceedings.
I'm sure my client would like to apologise for her interruptions, my lord, but she's not been well, and this may have a bearing on her conduct.
Very well, let's get on.
Mrs. A.
Yes.
An alias to protect you and your husband's position.
Yes.
A privilege granted you by the law, but no such privilege is granted the accused.
No.
Did you know before you went to the police that if you brought a blackmail charge that you and your husband would enjoy this protection from publicity?
No.
What, you've never heard of this happening in a blackmail case before?
Never.
Really? Mrs. A, you knew, I suppose, that it would have been possible for Miss Brewer to have taken your husband to court, to have sued him for this money that she believes is owing her?
She wouldn't have won.
But you know she could have done it.
Possibly.
And you knew that when you read that letter, didn't you?
I don't think I thought about it.
What would have been the result to your husband of such an action, with all its attendant publicity?
I really don't know.
Your opinion?
It would have harmed him.
It would have told the whole world about him, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And you knew that when you read those letters, didn't you?
Mr. Dealey, is Miss Brewer quite recovered?
Yes, my lord.
I'm glad to hear it.
Your husband had had previous affairs. So when you read those letters, you realized the Brewers might start legal proceedings in which the publicity would ruin your husband. Whereas if you brought a charge of blackmail, you would be allowed to keep your identity secret.
No, that's not so.
And you took that second letter to the police before your husband had even seen it.
Yes.
And did you, to bolster up your charge of blackmail, Mrs. A, add an extra naught to the figure of 400 in Mr. Brewer's letter?
No, certainly not.
Thank you, Mrs. A.
No further questions.
Thank you. You may stand down.
Reverend A, on the 12th and 17th of June last, you received 2 letters. Would you look at Exhibits 1 and 2, please? Are those the letters?
Yes.
Now, both letters were opened by your wife in the normal course of events, and as a result of the letters and your conversations with the police, you laid a complaint against the 2 accused, Miss Janet Brewer and Mr. Matthew Brewer, as a result of which they stand charged with demanding money with menaces. Is all that correct?
No.
Did not your wife in the normal course of events open your mail?
Well, do you think it's in the normal course of events for a wife to open her husband's mail?
In the case of yourself and your wife, it isn't unusual, is it?
Well, she opened the letter from Janet, Miss Brewer, because she thought I was having an affair and she wanted to know who with. And she took the other letter to the police before I'd even seen it.
Did not your wife regularly deal with your mail with your full knowledge and consent?
Consent? No.
You forbade it?
Why, does your case fall down if I did?
Just answer the question,
Well, you
please.
answer mine
You
first.
must answer, counsel.
Must I? Well, what does forbid mean?
Let us not go into semantics. You are under oath, you are giving evidence, and you've been directed to answer.
I'm giving evidence under protest.
You're beginning to make that plain. Did you at any time ask your wife not to open your mail?
Well, if I had, she'd have been talking about something else before I'd even finished the sentence. No, gentle, unremitting persuasion is Hillary.
Now, please answer the question, yes or no.
But I have. It's not a yes-no question.
Answer, counsel.
Well, not in so many words, no.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, will you look at the letter marked Exhibit 2? You recognize the handwriting?
Yes, it's Matthew Brewer's.
How do you know his writing?
Well, I forget how, but I've seen his writing in connection with church matters.
What was your relationship with the accused, Miss Janet Brewer?
Friendship and warm affection.
Very warm?
Very warm.
Would it be too much to say you were in love with her?
Well, I don't know.
How far did the relationship go?
What do you mean?
You were intimate?
No.
You are under oath,
We were
Reverend.
not intimate. I did not have carnal knowledge of her, and I did not commit adultery, simply because none of those nasty euphemisms describes it. We made love. Janet and I made love.
Did you arrange to go and live with Miss Brewer?
She took a flat so that we could be together, but whether when it came to it I'd have moved in with her, I don't know.
But at this time you intended that the relationship should last for a lengthy period.
Yes,
What made you change your mind?
cowardice and confusion. I'm an ordained clergyman, and I did not take orders lightly. And I'm also a married man, and I did not take my marriage vows lightly.
It was conscience then,
Yes?
and not threats of any kind by your wife to deprive you of money.
No.
You ended your affair with Janet Brewer because of a crisis of conscience.
Yes.
Who was to be responsible for the lease of the flat and any other arrangements you made?
I was.
I'll put that question to you again. Who was to be responsible for the expenses of moving and of the lease that Miss Brewer took on the flat?
I was.
Did you discuss who would pay for these expenses?
I said I'd pay, I think.
You think?
Well, money was something that I rarely discussed with Janet, but I think I said I'd pay.
You think, but you're not sure. Now, can you remember the words of any such conversation?
Not the words, no.
And you just said money wasn't something you discussed with her. You said you felt friendship and a very warm affection for Miss Brewer. What do you feel for her now?
The same. And sad and guilty.
Very strong feelings.
Yes.
I ask you again. Did you agree to pay for Miss Brewer's flat?
Well, it wasn't discussed. But I do owe her something.
What? Even before you received her letter, you had told Miss Brewer that your affair was over?
Well, I told her that I needed time to think, and I did think, but in the end, I'm ashamed to say, I did nothing. And then later she phoned me at home, and then I told her that it was over, and why. And then a week or so after that, her letter came.
What was your reaction when you first read her letter?
Shock, numbness.
Shocked that this girl could have written you such a letter?
No. Shock because I decided to stay with my wife, and now here she was, waving this letter under my nose and accusing me.
But the contents of the letter, the demand for money, what did you make of that?
Well, I didn't know how I could pay it, now that my wife knew.
But you considered paying.
Well, of course, yes.
Because of the consequences to yourself and your career if you did not.
Well, myself, my marriage, my church, I mean, everything. The same hodgepodge of cowardice and confusion.
The threats in the letter frightened and confused you.
Well, I was confused and frightened that I might hurt anyone anymore.
But you did take them to be threats and considered paying the demands.
Yes, but I knew that she didn't mean them.
Her letter mentioned the sum of £400. Now, in the next letter from Mr. Brewer, the demand had increased to £4,000. What did you make of that?
Well, nothing. A mistake, that's all. Well, £400 was about right. But look, I think you've got the wrong impression.
What do you mean, a slip of the pen?
Well, yes, figures, an extra naught, that's all.
If there could be a slip one way, an extra naught, it's possible there could be a slip the other way, isn't it? A naught left off.
Left off? By Janet, you mean? You mean that Janet really meant to ask for £4,000?
Well, it is possible, isn't it?
No, it is not. Dear God in heaven, I know you want a conviction, but I don't think you'd stoop to that.
Mr. A, you really...
Very well, they should never have been brought to court. They're not guilty of anything.
Now, I warn you.
I told them I would pay right from the beginning.
Mr. A, you will be silent and listen to me. Now, this is a court of law, and I will tolerate no further discourtesy to it or to counsel, or any further outbreak of any kind from you.
I was forced to come here. They subpoenaed me. This whole thing is an absolute sham.
If you are not silent and don't behave yourself, I warn you that I may be forced to commit you for contempt of this court. I may then commit you to prison until the contempt is, in my opinion, purged and you satisfy me that you're going to behave yourself.
I'm sorry.
Please continue, Mr. Lotterby.
My lord, during his outburst, the witness has retracted earlier testimony.
I do see that. I'm sure the jury will make due allowance.
Reverend A, do we understand you now to claim that even before receipt of these letters, you would agree to compensate Miss Brewer for any expenses she incurred in moving home to be your mistress?
Yes.
My lord, may I have leave for the Reverend A to be treated as a hostile witness to the Crown?
The case of the Queen versus Brewer and Brewer will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. In the case of Regina versus Brewer and Brewer, it was yesterday revealed that former Sunday school teacher Janet Brewer had been the mistress of a married Church of England clergyman. When that affair ended, Miss Brewer, and later her brother Matthew Brewer, wrote to the man whom the court has agreed to call the Reverend A and asked for money. As a result of these two letters, the Brewers stand accused of demanding money with menaces, of blackmail. Crown witness, the Reverend A, however, has been seen to change his evidence under oath and was cautioned by the judge. Finally, prosecution counsel Charles Lotterby asked that he be allowed to treat the Reverend A as a hostile witness.
I have carefully considered this question overnight. Now, much of the Crown case may depend upon the testimony of the Reverend A, and therefore, in view of this witness's attitude, his behaviour in the witness box and the apparent contradiction in his evidence, I give leave that he may be treated by the prosecution as a hostile witness. Now, this means, members of the jury, that counsel for the Crown is permitted to treat this witness rather differently. The Crown, for whom this witness appears, may now ask leading questions directly. And you, members of the jury, will bear in mind that the witness has been held to be hostile to the prosecution case.
Reverend, I'd remind you, you are still under oath.
Yes.
You were under oath yesterday when you suddenly claimed you'd agreed to pay Miss Brewer.
Yes.
I put it to you that it is your bad conscience over your treatment of your mistress which is now making you want to tell less than the truth to this court. Now, you've had a chance to reconsider,
can
and I ask
answer
you again,
that,
did
or
you
will you
truly
interrupt me
agree
every
to
few
pay
words?
Miss Brewer? My lord.
Mr. A, I have had to warn you before about misbehaviour in this court, and I warn you now for the last time. If there is any further instance of it, you will go to prison. Now answer counsel's questions directly and clearly.
My lord, I'm quite willing to answer, but I won't be bullied or talked over. Now, two good and innocent people are accused of a very serious
You
crime.
are not being bullied, you are being treated as a hostile witness, and you have brought that upon yourself. Now, it is my responsibility to see that you are fairly treated, and it is the responsibility of the jury to decide upon innocence or guilt.
Can I answer now?
Answer counsel's questions.
Now, let us come more gently to it. There are two letters. They were written by your ex-mistress and her brother. You say the affair ended only because of your bad conscience. On receipt of the second letter, you were seen by the police, you made a deposition, and you laid a complaint against the two accused. Now, you do not disagree with any of that?
No.
Good. Now, we'll come in a moment to your interview with Mr. Brewer. Most important now, I think, is the question of your present feelings. Now, you deeply regret what you yourself have described as your cowardly and confused behavior in all of this, do you not?
Yes, I do.
Do you think you can put it right by telling the court anything less than the whole truth?
No.
Was there ever, at any time, any conversation between yourself and Miss Brewer at which you told her that you would pay for all or even some of her expenses?
No.
Thank you. Now, you've also testified that after receiving the first letter, you intended to pay the sum demanded because the threats of exposure frightened and confused you.
Well, I thought there were threats then, yes.
Yes. Now, Mr. Brewer came to see you on the evening of the 17th of June.
Yes.
Did Mr. Brewer say at that meeting, "By God, you'd better pay up or we'll drag your name through the Sunday newspapers"?
Yes.
At that time, what did you take him to mean by that?
Well, I thought he meant just that he'd tell the papers and I'd be involved in a scandal.
A threat calculated to make you pay up unwillingly.
Well, I don't know about unwillingly.
Well, you wouldn't have paid willingly, would you, in the face of threats? Why threaten at all if you were willing?
Janet and her brother.
You were unwilling.
My wife and the policeman came bursting into the room at that point. So I haven't had the chance to hear what Matthew really meant.
But you thought he was threatening you.
Well, I thought he had.
But subsequently you found yourself growing more and more sympathetic towards him. Now,
Yes.
you'd like to see him get out of this situation which he himself has created by his threats. That's right, isn't it?
Perhaps.
Thank you.
Reverend, we have heard you called uncomplimentary names in this court, and you've described yourself in terms that are not exactly flattering. Yet you've committed no offence, have you?
No.
Unless I'm much mistaken, you've tried very hard, sometimes painfully, to be honest with us.
Yes, I have.
And you're not hostile towards the cause of justice and truth, are you?
No.
Well, let's see if we cannot get a little closer to the truth of this matter. What kind of people are the Brewers?
Well, Janet's one of the nicest, kindest, most straightforward and loving people that I know.
That's a glowing testimonial.
Well, it's true.
And her brother, Matthew Brewer?
Well, I don't know Matthew.
For the witnesses' opinions.
They are more than the witnesses' opinions, my lord. They're his knowledge and experience of the people involved in this trial.
Now, Mr. Dealey, you know better than that. If you're establishing their good character, say so.
Very well, my lord. Mr. A, would you agree that the rules and regulations of institutions sometimes makes life very hard for people of goodwill?
Mr. Dealey.
Institutions such as the church, my lord.
Yes. Yes, I'd agree with that.
Now, you have testified that at first you felt that the two letters and Mr. Brewer's remarks to you were intentionally threatening. Calculated to make you pay up unwillingly was counsel's phrase. Now, what do you feel now?
Well, I know that they can't have been meant like that.
Well, how could they have been meant then? What do you believe now?
Well, that they were justified. It just hadn't occurred to me that these things cost money, that's all.
Would you amplify that, please?
I'm naive, perhaps, but I haven't had much experience in these things. It's just that it didn't occur to me that Janet would have to spend so much money. Well, if it had, then of course I'd have felt that I'd have had to pay up willingly. So you see, they weren't threats. It was just that I seemed to be avoiding my responsibilities.
I see. Well, we've heard evidence to say that you're not quite as naive as that. We've been told that you've had other affairs before this one.
Is that what my wife said?
Is it true?
My wife and I, like many other people, have had marital troubles, for which I'm much to blame. But when I found problems and jealousy at home, I looked outside for what was pleasanter. I'm flattered to be found attractive. I flirted. I've had several romances, but whatever my wife believes, I was never unfaithful to her until Janet.
But she believes otherwise.
I'm afraid so.
Now, you said that her threats to cut you off from money did not influence your decision to end the affair.
No.
Although she did make such threats.
Yes, she did.
Did your wife make any attempt to persuade you to lay a complaint against the Brewers?
Yes, when the first letter came from Janet, but I refused to do anything. And then later, when the other letter came, well, I was angry enough at first to need no persuading.
At first. But later you changed your mind.
Well, as I said, they were justified. I mean, any man would want to take his responsibility, and willingly.
We come now to this matter which counsel has described as a slip of the pen, the 400 or the 4,000 pounds. Now, you said, I believe, that 400 was about right. Now, what did you mean by that?
I meant that £400 was about the sum that it would have cost Janet.
And how did you arrive at that?
Well, she took a 3-month lease, that's £200. And then she gave up her job, month's salary, and she had to buy some things, furniture, fares, expenses. I did some sums, and it does come to about £400.
And did you, in fact, attempt to send her a cheque for that amount?
Yes, I did, and she returned it to me herself.
So there is no doubt in your mind that the extra nought in Mr. Brewer's letter was pure accident and not intended as the sum requested?
There's no doubt at all.
Now, how on earth can the witness know what was in Mr. Brewer's mind?
One last question, Mr. A. You said you were not sure whether or not you were in love with Miss Brewer. Now, what other reason could you have had for a love affair with her?
Life is very brief, and I thought that perhaps she and I were entitled to a little happiness.
Life is very brief. Would you care to enlarge on that?
No.
Whose life?
All lives, some in particular.
Very well. Would you agree that the whole question of your unwillingness and their menaces and threats hinges upon your fear of publicity regarding this affair?
Don't try and answer that question. It's one for the jury.
Well, they wouldn't be menaces or threats unless you feared the consequences to yourself, would they?
That is a question of law.
You do realise that if you really owed this money, that Miss Brewer could have taken you to court and sued you for it?
Yes.
And if she had, the publicity and the consequences towards yourself would have been just as serious, would they not?
But is that what the letters meant?
What do you think they meant?
Well, yes. Well, perhaps that's what they did mean.
Thank you, Mr. A.
Inspector Savage, what took place at that first interview with the Reverend A?
He refused to take any action, sir. We had to let the matter drop.
And then what happened on the 17th of June?
Mrs. A came to see me again with the second letter, this from Miss Brewer's brother, Matthew Brewer. The contents of this letter might also have constituted an offence against the Theft Act. So I suggested an arrangement with Mrs. A.
What sort of arrangement, Inspector?
An arrangement by which we would both be within earshot when Mr. Brewer met with the Reverend.
An arrangement of which the Reverend A was unaware?
Yes, sir. In view of his previous attitude, I couldn't count on his cooperation.
When Mrs. A brought this second letter to you, did you know that this was also without her husband's knowledge?
No, sir. He knew about the first one. I assumed that much the same circumstances could be accorded to the second.
Quite. What took place at this meeting between the Reverend A and the accused, Matthew Brewer?
Well, the accused arrived about 1800 hours on June the 17th. He was shown into the study by the Reverend. Mrs. A and myself were in a passage outside another door to the study.
Were you able to hear their conversation?
Oh, yes, sir, clearly.
What was said?
Verbatim, sir?
Was it a long meeting?
No, sir.
Word for word, then.
Well, the Reverend said, Matthew, I'm so very sorry. And Brewer replied, so you damn well might be, you fornicator. The Reverend said, there's not much to be gained by name calling, is there? Let's see if we can't sort something out now. Brewer said, "Sort what out? Don't think you'll smooth this over. You've ruined my sister, broke her heart, at the very least you'll pay for that. You call yourself a man of God, you're not fit to go into a church."
What did the Reverend A reply to that?
He said, "Don't judge me, Matthew, there are many things you don't know." And Brewer replied, "I know you. I know you're trying to get out of the money that you owe us." And the Reverend said, "Yes, what is this blackmail nonsense, Matthew?"
Reverend A used the word blackmail.
"Yes, sir."
You're quite sure of that?
"Oh, yes, sir." He said, "What is this blackmail business, Matthew? It's not at all like you."
And then?
Oh, Brewer said very angrily, "By God, you better pay or we'll drag your name through the Sunday papers." But Mr. A interrupted him and said, "Don't threaten." And then Mr. Brewer began to shout, "You swine, adulterer, you dirty, filthy hypocrite. You and your smug old wife who keeps you, I'll see you both in..." And that was the moment, sir, when Mrs. Warrender...
I will be grateful to members of the press if they do not publish that name. I also ask anybody in court not to repeat it.
I'm sorry, my lord.
Go on, Inspector.
And that was the moment when Mrs. A rushed into the study, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. Nothing more was said after they'd seen me. After Brewer had gone, I spoke with the Reverend, and he agreed to bring a complaint.
Without persuasion from anyone?
Of his own free will, sir.
Thank you, Inspector.
I have no questions of this witness, my lord.
Thank you, Inspector. You may stand down.
That concludes the case for the prosecution.
I did. Yes, I did.
Well, you may have taken the flat in your name, yes, but who looked for it? Who found it?
Well, I'm not sure now. We both looked for somewhere.
And which of you found this one?
I believe Frank did, but I couldn't...
The Reverend A. How did you first meet him?
He was vicar of my local church.
And what was your connection with the church?
Well, when I got my teaching diploma, I went home to live and got a job. Then I went along to the church because the Sunday school teacher was retiring. I took over.
Can you tell us if that brought you into frequent contact with the Reverend A?
Not at first so much, but when we began to like each other, well, we both found excuses to meet more often.
Which of you made the running in your relationship?
I suppose it was mutual, 50-50, I don't know.
And eventually, whose suggestion was it that you should leave home and take a flat?
His.
Did you see much of Mrs. A during this time?
A bit.
Did you see them together?
Yes.
And how did they behave towards each other?
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, what sort of relationship did they have?
Well, they were both kind and considerate right from the start towards me.
Yes, but towards each other.
I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to make it look as if it was all his fault.
You must just answer my questions, Miss Brewer. Now, in your letter, you mentioned the sum of £400 as being what the Reverend A owed you. How did you arrive at that sum?
I had to pay a quarter's rent in advance. I made a cheque out for £200.
So you had sufficient money at the time to write a cheque for £200?
My father lent it to me.
What else?
Well, the removal men cost £12.50. I had to live the month I was alone, say £15 a week. I had to buy furniture. Altogether, I spent £139 furnishing the flat.
Well, that totals more than £400 already, and I take it that you were not earning during this time.
No, I gave up my job in Fulchester to move.
When you wrote to him, "I have over £400 worth of debts and you must pay," what did you mean by this?
That I'd got the debts because he said I should get a flat, encouraged me. So I thought he should pay.
Money is no compensation for what you've done to me, but you've got to pay for your fun. What did you mean by that?
I was angry and bitter when I wrote that. I was hurt. I felt he just used me, had an affair and chickened out.
What little secrets?
What?
To what little secrets of the Reverend gentleman were you referring?
Do I have to say?
Well, it would be better if you can.
Well, they were little personal things between lovers.
Ways in which he liked to make love?
Yes. Yes, I suppose so.
Any trouble getting the money out of your wife? And I'm sure the newspapers would pay a lot for those photos you took. Were these photographs of the two of you together?
Yes.
Well, why should a newspaper want to buy photographs of a girl with a clergyman?
Well, we were clowning. It sounds worse than it was, but...
But what?
Well, for example, one of them, we weren't dressed. Frank set the Polaroid on delayed action and was clowning about, holding up his dog collar.
In no way obscene photographs.
No,
But I suppose potentially highly embarrassing for a churchman.
they may have been.
Now, when you wrote this, did you have any intention of selling those photographs to force the Reverend A to pay you the money?
I didn't have the pictures, he had them.
So you're saying that the pictures were not and are not in your possession?
Frank's got them or burned them.
So they were not much of a threat then, were they?
No.
Did you ask anyone for advice about the possibility of suing the Reverend A for the money?
Yes, I did.
Who?
My brother.
So you did consider the possibility of suing him?
Yes.
Would you have gone that far?
No. It was just one of those silly thoughts. One of all the things I thought of.
What do you feel now for the Reverend A?
I still love him.
Despite everything?
Yes.
And what would you do now if he asked you to become his lover again?
I'd refuse.
And if he asked you to become his wife?
I'd say no.
Miss Brewer, is your health good?
No, but I don't see that my health has got anything to do with this.
But the doctors say that you are in fact very ill.
I feel all right. They say I have an illness. It's got nothing to do with this.
Thank you, Miss Brewer.
Miss Brewer, you claim still to love the Reverend A. Why would you say no if he asked you to be his wife?
I love him despite myself.
You'd prefer not to love him.
Of course.
What do you mean by love?
I don't know how to answer that.
Well, how do you feel when you love a man? How does it make you act?
I want the best for him.
And for yourself, naturally. Don't women sometimes use this word love to cover a multitude of sins, to excuse the inexcusable, to lie and cheat and hide things, all in the name of love? Do you think this sometimes happens?
Some people sometimes, I suppose.
For a woman who claims to be in love, how do you think you've behaved? Well or badly?
Not well.
No. No, you contrived to have an affair with a married man, a not unhappily married man. You deceived his wife over a lengthy period, and then when he decided to end it, for moral and good reasons, you became very angry and vindictive, didn't you?
Yes.
You wanted to hurt him then, didn't you?
Yes.
You cast about for any way in which to hurt and embarrass him,
Yes, I did.
and settled at last upon this letter, knowing that it would wound and frighten him.
Not frightened.
You knew that his wife often used to open his mail, didn't you?
Yes, I knew.
You wrote this letter with a premeditated intention of exposing him to his wife, of hurting and embarrassing him, and threatening that it would not end there. Isn't that so?
I thought she might find out.
You
Yes,
behaved
I
in
hope she would.
such a cruel manner, when he'd been nothing but chivalrous towards you.
I felt he deserved it.
And you did it for money as well.
No, not in the way you mean.
And what's all this about your ill health? These little calls to sympathy for you as a sick person. Let's have it out in the open, shall we? Just how sick are you?
My health has got nothing to do with this.
I think it well might have. What exactly is wrong with you?
You want to know? They say I'm going to die. They say I have leukemia.
I'm very sorry, Miss Brewer. I had no idea.
Everybody's so apologetic, so bloody chivalrous, talking round and round it. Well, it's not true. I won't believe it. They're all lying in their teeth. The whole thing was my fault.
Now, Miss Brewer, you're
I
not
want
bound...
to say it. I want to clear all this muck, all the lies out of the way.
For your own sake, it might be better if you were
No,
silent.
I'll say it. He didn't love me, not really, not enough. He felt sorry for me. I made him sorry for me. I wanted him so much I played on his sympathies. Even when he ended, I couldn't just give him up. He loves his wife, God knows why. I was so jealous of that. I tried to break it up. I wrote that letter. This is the truth, this awful thing I've done. I won't be pitied anymore. I did everything to get him, and I'm guilty and I'm ashamed.
The case of the Queen versus Brewer and Brewer will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. Yesterday's hearing in the case of Regina versus Brewer and Brewer ended in some confusion when one of the accused, Janet Brewer, broke down in court. Janet, the former mistress of a married clergyman, called in court the Reverend A to protect his identity, stands accused with her brother Matthew of demanding money with menaces from him. She revealed that doctors believe she may be very ill indeed and likely to die. She admitted that she had used this fact, as she said, to blackmail the Reverend A into having an affair with her. She revealed her jealousy of the vicar's wife, and by implication had upset her counsel's attempted defence by now claiming that she wrote the letters in the case not primarily for money, but in an attempt to break up his marriage.
My Lord, in the circumstances and in the light of the new facts we have heard, in my submission, this is a case which ought not to proceed, and the accused, Matthew and Janet Brewer, ought to be discharged.
Mr. Dealey, members of the jury, I have given very much thought to this matter since I adjourned yesterday. I have, as I am sure we all have, great sympathy for Miss Brewer, admiration for her courage. However, 2 letters were written, and there are other facts also which are open to certain alternative interpretations. Now, while Miss Brewer's testimony yesterday sheds new light indeed upon these matters, there is a case to answer, a case upon which the jury must decide, and these proceedings will therefore continue.
My Lord, in that event, may I ask that Miss Brewer be excused from giving further evidence for the time being, and that the case be adjourned?
The Crown was cross-examining Mr. Lotterby.
It's highly irregular, my Lord.
Miss Brewer's doctor is in court, my Lord, and I should like you to hear his evidence. Perhaps then my learned friend and your Lordship would take a different view of my application. If Miss Brewer is excused today, it will give her an opportunity to rest.
Mr. Lotterby?
I've already stated my objection, my Lord.
Well, I would like to hear what the doctor has to say. We can then decide whether or not these proceedings should be put back until the accused is in stronger health.
My Lord. Dr. Selwyn, during these 5 months in which you have treated Miss Brewer, what opinion have you formed as to her health?
She's sick, damn sick. And in my opinion, to expose her to these harassments is not justice, but an unnecessary...
Doctor, you will help Miss Brewer better if you just confine yourself to answering my questions.
I did answer your question.
Now, what form does her illness take?
I don't think an open court of law is a fit place to discuss intimate, private matters which are between nobody but my patient and myself, and certainly not to be drooled over by newspaper readers.
Doctor, you are here with the full consent of Miss Brewer.
I am.
And she has agreed that you can say what you think fit on her behalf.
She hasn't much choice, has she? If she's sent to prison, she'll die there.
Well, I don't think I need press you any further. What you have said speaks for itself.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
In your opinion, Doctor, would any purpose be served by postponing this trial? Is your patient likely to go stronger?
Put it off for long enough, it would all become academic. Otherwise, no. No point in putting it off. Best get it over with, but let her rest for the time being.
I have no questions.
Well, I would like to know the nature of Miss Brewer's illness.
I've clearly told you what's wrong with her. It's enough. It's more than enough.
I understand your indignation on behalf of your client, Doctor. However, she stands here on trial for a very serious offence. I have been asked to adjourn these proceedings on the grounds of Miss Brewer's ill health, and I would like to know what her illness is.
If it's a word you want, Miss Brewer told you. I believe she gave you that word herself.
I want you to tell the court.
Leukemia, a cancer of the blood.
Thank you, Doctor. You may stand down. No, I will not adjourn this case, but Miss Brewer need not continue with her evidence for the time being.
So you lent her this money, Mr. Brewer?
Yes, sir. I lent my daughter a total of £400. I had to take out a second mortgage.
So far as you know, all this money was spent in connection with your daughter leaving home and taking a flat?
No, not so far as I know. It was. She asked me for £200 for the rent, and the rest was debt she'd run up that I settled direct.
Even if it meant running yourself into debt to do it?
Well, she's a good girl. Well, she was owed a little bit of life.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
And I'd like to say that I think this
you
whole...
had better say nothing, Mr. Brewer. Now, Mr. Lotterby, before you speak, I would like to address a few words to the jury. Members of the jury, this case has developed an emotional climate in which it is very hard for us to remain impartial. Now, I only want to say this to you. Nothing is served by permitting our sympathies, strong and natural though these may be, to come between our judgment and the facts of this case. Mr. Lotterby.
Mr. Brewer, when you lent this money to your daughter, did you know what it was for?
Of course. I told you.
I find it hard to believe you knew your daughter intended to set up house with her vicar.
Oh, that? Well, no, I didn't know that. I meant I knew it was for a flat.
But not why she was taking the flat.
No.
Did you lend the money in one lump sum?
I said not. It was £200 for the rent and the rest to pay her debts.
Knowing your daughter to be in financial trouble, you acted to help her out of it.
Oh, yes. Wouldn't you?
You would have helped your daughter in any circumstances, would you?
Yes.
In fact, you've had to help her out of financial difficulties before, haven't you?
When she was a student, from time to time.
Often?
No, not that often.
Even when she was earning, you've had to give her sums of money.
Once or twice.
Are you an indulgent father?
No, not particularly. I've never spoiled her, if that's what you mean.
Then is she an extravagant daughter?
Oh, no.
Well, which is it? You've had to subsidize a person earning good money. Now, are you indulgent or is she extravagant?
It's neither. It's not just black and white.
Perhaps it's a bit of both, then.
Well, have it your own way.
Mr. Brewer, thank you.
You can always twist things around.
I have no further questions, my lord.
That's all, Mr. Brewer.
All? You mean I've got no chance
You
to
may
say...
stand down, Mr. Brewer.
And what was the first you knew of their affair?
When my sister phoned me in tears and asked me to come to her flat.
Had you been there before?
No, I'd not been asked. That evening I found out why. Janet was in a very low state, crying and worried, depressed. Then the whole story came spilling out.
The story of their affair?
Yes. Not that she was also so very ill. I didn't find that out till weeks later.
What was your reaction to finding out about their relationship?
An unchristian one. Disgust that two people could be so deceitful. But I'm sorry for it now.
You're sorry for what?
Sorry I reacted so strongly. You know, when people are in the wrong, they try to make themselves look better. Janet gave me a wrong impression that evening. I thought Mr. A had seduced my sister. Now I know that it was at least mutual. Then I was angry enough to want to hurt him.
What do you feel now towards the Reverend A?
I still believe he'd betrayed his trust. Maybe unfair, but a man in his position has to behave better than others. He behaved stupidly. Even if he was desperately sorry for Janet, there were ways of handling it short of sleeping with her. Anyway, I was angry enough to write that letter.
Yes. Now, when did you write this letter?
That same evening, there and then. He hadn't replied to Janet. He wouldn't come to the phone. So I sat down with Janet and wrote myself.
With Janet, so she saw what you wrote?
Yes.
Before you wrote it, did you discuss alternative ways of recovering the money?
No, I don't think we did.
I'm sorry, I don't think the jury caught that.
I said, no, I don't think we did. I'm under oath, and the truth is, I don't
Mr. Brewer,
think
you needn't elaborate.
No, I think I must tell the truth. It's so easy to stretch the truth. But then what's it all for? I have no recollection, truthfully, of having had any discussion about the possibility of suing the Reverend A.
You have no recollection, but it may have happened.
I really don't think it did.
I mean, your sister might be mistaken in her recollection that she discussed it with you, but she might nevertheless have contemplated it herself.
Well, I don't know.
And had the thought never crossed your own mind?
What thought?
Well, of suing Reverend A.
My lord, my friend is leading his witness.
Yes, Mr. Dealey. I can see your dilemma. Your witness has changed course on you. You must not put words into Mr. Brewer's mouth.
Mr. Brewer is more than a witness, my lord. He's one of the accused, and I cannot let him stand there and... Mr. Brewer, when you came to write in your letter the sum that was owed to your sister...
Now, it has not been established that the sum was owed in law, Mr. Dealey. We've only had opinions about it.
But the Reverend A has admitted that he owed it, surely, my lord.
He's been led to say that he felt that it was his responsibility. That is not the same thing.
Very well, my lord. Mr. Brewer, when you came to write in your letter the sum which the Reverend A has subsequently admitted was his responsibility, did you write the amount in full or in figures?
Only figures.
And what amount did you write?
£400.
Now, you have a copy of the letter in front of you, I believe. Now, do you think that the figure looks like £4,000?
Well, on this photocopy it does a bit, but there's a mark before the last nought.
How do you account for that?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what I wrote, but it's not a slip of the pen. It's been suggested to Mrs. A that she wrote it in, but I don't think she did any forgery. Perhaps I don't write very clearly, but I thought it was supposed to be decimal. You know, £400 and no new pence. Well, it must have been clear enough, or Janet would have queried it, wouldn't she?
So you're saying that you intended the sum to be how much?
£400, what was due.
Prior to all this, how well did you know the Reverend and Mrs. A?
Well, I'm involved. That's to say, I was involved in church affairs, so quite well.
Well enough to know, for example, that Mrs. A was in the habit of opening her husband's mail?
No.
So you had no idea that Mrs. A would read this letter?
No.
Mr. Brewer, I'm going to have to ask you this question, because if I don't, somebody else will. Now, what was in your mind when you wrote the words, "You must pay this, or we shall have to take other measures against you, which I'm sure I needn't elaborate"?
That whatever the legality of it, the money was owed to Janet.
Yes, but what other measures?
I'm not sure I had anything very clear in mind. It's one of those phrases. I'm sure I don't need to elaborate means I can't elaborate, but I'll think of something.
And what did you mean by the words at your meeting, "You had better pay, or we'll drag your name through the Sunday newspapers"?
I meant that I'd make a big enough stink if he tried to escape his responsibilities to Janet, that he'd be all over the newspapers.
Thank you.
A threat?
What?
If he didn't pay, he'd be all over the newspapers. You make a stink. Isn't that a threat?
Yes, I suppose it was, really.
You intended to make him pay up, however unwillingly.
But he wasn't unwilling. He's admitted as much.
Tell me, would you pay anybody anything in the face of threats? It's not the way to treat a man you believe would pay willingly, is it?
Perhaps not, but then I...
No more questions, Mr. Brewer.
I have no further questions, my lord.
You will return to the dock, Mr. Brewer.
It remains only for me to recall Janet Brewer.
Usher, a chair for Miss Brewer.
Miss Brewer, you are still under oath.
Yes.
I'm sorry to have to subject you to this again.
Please don't treat me as if I'm made of glass or something. I'm not.
It won't take long anyway, because much of your testimony became irrelevant after your statement, didn't it?
I suppose so.
You said the whole thing was your fault. Now, what did you mean by that?
That I'd used Frank's sympathy for me to pressure him into making love to me.
He loves his wife. I was so jealous of that, I tried to break it up, wrote that letter. What did you mean by that?
It was why I wrote the letter. I owed money to my father, but I didn't give a damn about that. I wanted Frank. So I wrote the letter to try and break up his marriage.
If that was so, Miss Brewer, there was no need to demand money at all, was there?
I thought that if I demanded money, Mrs. A would stop Frank from using the bank account, and since he couldn't pay me, he'd come back.
No more questions.
Miss Brewer, you say he was unwilling to continue your relationship, and he was unwilling to break up his marriage and come and live with you.
Yes, he proved it. But I didn't know till I tried. I had to put him to the test. Anyhow, I couldn't have done anything to hurt him when it really came to it. He knew that. Ask him.
You see, a person is guilty of blackmail if, with a view to gain for himself, he makes any unwarranted demand with menaces. Now, Miss Brewer, did you make any such demands?
I've already said I didn't give a damn about the money.
Thank you, Miss Brewer.
You will return to the dock, Miss Brewer.
The defendants may well have behaved honestly before now, that is not disputed. Nor are their words, spoken or written, denied. They said what they said. We've heard a great deal of evidence to the effect that they did not mean what they seemed to mean. But again, that is not the test, nor the point. What their intention was can only be judged by what their effect was upon the Reverend A. Well, we've seen what conscience makes him now believe. But in the beginning, when we can judge the word's real effect by his first reaction to them, what then? Well, then he took those words to be a real threat. He had no doubt then. He charged them both with blackmail.
Miss Brewer said that she didn't really give a damn about the money. Now, these are the words of a money-grabbing, wicked blackmailer. She also said that any threat by her to the Reverend A was not even credible, because he knew beyond any doubt that she loved him and would do nothing to hurt him. Now, her brother, Matthew Brewer, well, he admitted anger. He said that at first he was angry enough to want to do harm to the person who had apparently seduced his sister. Well, other than that, his so-called menacing words amounted to nothing. They were empty, meaningless phrases. Even the prosecution's star witness, the Reverend A himself, freely and gladly admitted that he was more than willing to pay that money. He even sent a check for that amount to Miss Brewer. Now, it is my contention that the prosecution have no case, and therefore, members of the jury, I trust that you will find the two accused not guilty of the charges against them.
You must understand, members of the jury, that we have the situation in which a married man, a minister of the Church of England, found himself in an irregular relationship with a young unmarried girl, but that is not what is at issue. And what you are called upon to decide, members of the jury, having heard all the evidence, is the interpretation which you place upon the main issues of this trial. Now, two letters, one written by each of the accused, and a meeting between the accused Matthew Brewer and the Reverend A, at which words were spoken which are not in question. Now, the words of the letters I think you have before you. And when they met, I will remind you that Mr. Brewer said, "By God, you'd better pay up or we'll drag your name through the Sunday newspapers." Now, what you must decide is what those words meant. Whether they were such as to make the Reverend A accede unwillingly to the demands for money. Now, to prove its case, the Crown must have satisfied you that the intention of the accused was to threaten the Reverend A in such a way as to make him act as he would not otherwise willingly have done. Now, you may think that the prosecution has proved its case against either or both of the accused, in which instance you will find either or both guilty as charged. But alternatively, you may think that neither the letters nor Mr. Brewer's words were intended to be threatening, but merely reflected a true state of affairs, and that Miss Brewer intended no threat when she wrote, "You'd better pay up, or it won't only be your wife who finds out." Now, it is for you to decide. You will now retire and consider your verdict.
All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please rise? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the charge of demanding money with menaces, do you find the defendant Janet Brewer guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On the charge of demanding money with menaces, do you find the defendant Matthew Brewer guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Very well. You may both leave the dock. You are discharged.
All stand.
Next week, a chance for you to join another jury in assessing the facts when our cameras return to watch a leading case in the Crown Court.